Hello, good evening. I hope very much that we are streaming live to the Organic Education Facebook page. Good evening. Hopefully, a few folks will come in and join us here live on the broadcast. But if not, this will be here for you to catch up on. So, welcome. My name is Alice Kimasia, and my husband, Krish, and I have been home educating our 4 sons for well over a decade now, about 12 years. And this evening I am joined by my 3rd son, Noah.
Hi, Mum.
Hello, thanks, Noah. So this is the 8th of my 4th Friday evenings live 2021. Pushing myself out of my comfort zone by showing up here and going live on my Facebook page and talking about all things home education. Oh, I can see someone's joined us. Say hi if you're there. Let us know that we're you can hear us on the page. Unfortunately, we are not very well in our house. We have had COVID this past week or so, and it's been pretty miserable, really, hasn't it, Noah? So we're here anyway and going to do our best to push on through. Hi, I can see Sarah's with us. Hello, Sarah. Welcome. Thanks for saying hi. So yeah, we're not 100%, but we're going to do our best tonight. And if you've got questions for us, please pop them in the chat. It's always good to have a little bit of interaction rather than just speaking into the ether. And although we're ill, the silver lining to that is that Noah is home on a Friday evening, because normally he's out doing something more interesting like playing tennis or at youth group or something. So I asked him if he would join me this evening to chat to you about his experience of being home educated. So thanks, Noah, for stepping up. So
That's all
Noah's
right.
15. You would be going into year 11 if you were in the school system, but Noah has never been to school, which, as I tell him, is quite unusual. But of course, for him, it's normal. So, Noah, tell us the best thing about being home educated.
I'd say just that I can do what I want basically. Well, no, like yeah, in a sense, but I just say the freedom of being able to follow my passions, do more of the things I want to do, and less of the things I don't. So that's probably the best thing about it.
Freedom. It's a good answer. I like that. Yes. There's a lot of pressure on schools, especially at the moment, with the additional pressure posed by the pandemic. And there's a lot of pressure on families and children to be in school and to get your kids back into school. So it feels important to me to share with people here and to speak up for alternative pathways, and giving people the opportunity to hear about that alternative choice and to be empowered to make a decision that's right for their family, right for their kids, is really important to me. So we don't have to go to school to be educated, to think and to grow and to thrive. And certainly my vision for our boys was that they be independent, lifelong learners. And so we have focused through your learning, Noah, really on your passions and allowing you to follow the things that you're interested in and to see the learning within those things and then build learning around that. And also, I hope you're going to talk a bit later about your strong mindset. You've got a very strong positive mindset, I think, which really stands you in good stead in all your learning. Noah is a very keen athlete. Tell us, Noah, tell us about some of your passions and interests and how these have shaped your education over the years.
So my main passion is probably tennis. Try to play every day. Um, got a good community at the tennis club. Lots of friends there. believe it or not, home educators have friends. I know you're shocked, baffled, but there we go. And running as well. I started that probably at the start of lockdown. So like, yeah, what was that? Early 2020. Been doing a lot of that ever since. Enjoying that. So those are my two main sports, and then obviously I quite enjoy doing art. I'm doing that for GCSE at the moment. That's the one I'm most focused on at the moment. And baking as well.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that's been good. I used to sell cookies and stuff at my tennis club. Don't anymore. I've gone out of business because of COVID. One of the small businesses affected. But there we go. The only one who still buys them is my coach. So, well, the only one who still wants to buy them, but I don't sell them anymore. So yeah, those I would say those are my main passions.
Yeah. And if you go back a bit further to when you were younger, can you remember any of the things that particularly the interest that you kind of followed when you were younger? Lego, I guess Lego would be one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd say I liked to build and create things in Lego and Minecraft. Uh, that would be one of them. I'm just trying to think.
I'm
I guess
remembering,
still tennis. I've been into tennis a long time, but only really since really into it since I was 10, probably.
Andy Murray was you've been following for a long time.
Yeah, well, probably since about 2016.
Yeah. And
Uh,
you've
I'm trying to think
you,
what my passions would have been when I was like a lot smaller, like
yeah.
7-ish.
What about the land speed record? That was quite a passion for a while.
Oh yeah, so I was interested in the land speed record because obviously, well not obviously, but the Transport Museum in Coventry, where we live, is very famous for the land speed record cars, which I was interested in from probably about, I don't know when I would have got interested in.
9,
My first
maybe?
visit really that museum. Uh, I think even earlier than that, I was interested in them. I managed to get some cool experiences out of that, which was I saw the car that they're trying to get to break the record now. I saw that in its like workshop as it was being built, which was really cool. And then it would have been about 2016 or 2017. We went to Newquay in Cornwall, is it?
Yeah.
We saw it. They were testing something at like a plane runway, the car, testing the brakes or something like that, and we got to see it go, and that was cool.
That was cool. Down the runway at the airport, wasn't it?
Good old Andy Green, what a guy. The driver of the car. It's called Bloodhound. You might have heard of it. It's yes. I don't know when they're gonna get it to break the record or attempt to break the record. It's meant to go 1,000 miles an hour. So there you go. Pretty cool. Oh, and another thing that I did with that was we at the museum that they keep the car that currently has the record. I saw the director of the whole project do a talk. So that's cool.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember how into it you were. And then we went to the Big Bang Fair. I remember at the NEC, you'd see them at those kind of science fairs with the stand about Bloodhound and the land speed record. And you used to love talking to all the engineers. Do you remember that?
um, yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at this comment. Say again. Sorry.
I said you used to chat to the engineers like at the science fairs and things at the NEC, and you always used to enjoy going to the Bloodhound stand. And yeah, Rachel's saying Thomas, her son, and his dad went to Coventry Transport Museum today. It's a great museum. Noah used to really enjoy, especially the land speed record gallery. But there is a lot to see there. It's good.
I haven't been in a while. Yeah, it is.
No, we should go again. There's a simulator and everything to take your younger brother again. well, of course, this few years it's all been a bit strange, hasn't it? And do you remember you had another interest, Noah, when you were really younger than that, in architecture and iconic buildings? And I know that those interests, they kind of bubble up periodically, like they don't really go away, those long-standing passions and interests. Do you
Yeah,
remember that one?
yeah, no, I remember that. I remember getting those 3D puzzles. That was like all I wanted for Christmas and birthdays and stuff. Um, and yeah, obviously recently I got to go up Tower Bridge, which was pretty cool. And I'm still interested in that architectural stuff, especially when we visited London. It's cool to see all the buildings and different designs. So yeah, I'd say that's one that it's maybe I'm not as interested as I was, but still, yeah, it never really goes.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember you being when you were quite small and you were very interested in the building. I remember you drawing, you'd spend hours drawing in perspective, trying to master your perspective drawing by looking at kind of iconic buildings and things like that. And there's a lot of learning wrapped up in all of those passions. And a lot of practical hands-on learning too, where you would make models and you'd experiment with making rocket cars and even Andy Murray, your interest in Andy Murray led into all kinds of different learning because I remember you reading about him a lot and you wrote some extended essay about his life at one point.
Oh yeah, my biography.
That's it, I remember.
Yeah, I think that was a good thing to do. I probably wasn't doing like loads of writing at the time, and then it was just good to write about something that I was interested in. And also, I'd read a lot of biographies, so I kind of knew certain moments in his career to write about. So yeah, I've still got the biography somewhere. But yeah, that was one thing that was I don't know. I think it was quite long, and I did it, so that was good.
It was very long. I remember I was surprised because, as you say, you weren't particularly interested in writing very much at that point, and suddenly out came this amazing extended biography about Andy Murray, who was a great role model, actually, wasn't he? Well, he has been for you for many years.
Yeah, it still is. Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And you still like reading autobiographies, don't you, of sports people and getting
yeah.
inspired? Yeah. Well, so quite a few people have put questions in on my Instagram channel for you. You're obviously an interesting person for people to hear from because there were lots of questions this month. And somebody asked, what have your typical days looked like in the stages of growing up?
Uh,
But
just thinking about what my days look like the last week. Very interesting. Um,
it's probably quite hard to remember right back
yeah,
to
I
when
mean,
you
I
were small.
guess I guess the work that I did when I was younger was probably a bit less. Um, how do you put it? Well, I guess in what I mean is in the last couple of years I've been learning more leading up to my GCSEs, so that's been a bit more focused work, boring work to be honest. But yeah, and when I was younger, it would have been a lot more. I don't know. We do more like projects, learning about. We did one on bees. We did one on the Olympics. Like massive projects, learning loads of stuff, visiting places, um, writing down everything, making like folders with all of pictures, drawings, writing about each subject. And yeah, as I've gotten older, the work's probably got a bit more kind of writing and the stuff that you do in school, writing, maths, and different subjects. But I guess, yeah, that's just because you have to do the GCSEs when it gets to this stage. Well, you don't have to, but it's because of that. I don't know if I answered that in the best way. I'm trying to, but so I guess if you mean the literal day and what I do is probably now I get up not that early. I do the difficult things and then I try and do what's set for my GCSE work. So whereas when I was younger, it would have been a lot more of like creative work, lights on work.
No, people are saying you're quite quiet, so I don't know if there's any way of you moving a bit nearer your microphone.
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah. Sorry if you're struggling to hear us. It can be a bit frustrating when we have tech issues because I'm not quite sure how to resolve them. Maybe just lean in a bit nearer to your microphone, Noah, unless you want to nip and get some headphones with a mic.
I could do that, but I'm not sure how much better it would be. It could like cause muffled sound on my headphone.
Okay, just lean in. It might be also because Noah's throat is a bit sore, that
Uh,
he's a little bit hoarse.
Aaron.
Yeah, just lean in nearer your mic. I guess as you've grown up, it's better nearer the mic. Gemma's saying thank you, guys. Thank you. Good to see a few more of you joining in. Do put questions in the chat if you've got any. Nice to see you all here. I guess your learning's always been, hasn't it, Noah, like a mix of learning at home, going out to groups and various clubs, definitely more independent as you've got older.
Yeah, I'd say that's a big thing. Is not as many like groups that are learning based, educational. So yeah, as I've gotten older, it's been a lot more doing that kind of work on my own. So
Mm,
I'd say that's probably been the biggest difference. And the
shift.
work itself, like as I was saying earlier, the work itself is probably, now it's GCSE work, whereas then it would have been a lot more broad projects.
Yeah, and I think you've always done quite a lot of art, always a lot of time outdoors, lots of trips to places. That's definitely been a highlight for me.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So you're both your older brothers, as some people who follow this page know, chose to go into school when they were 14 for their GCSE years, but you didn't make that choice. Can you remember why that was?
Well, I guess the main reason was I wanted to continue doing the things that I enjoyed, my hobbies, and I felt like if I went to school, I wouldn't have got half as much time to do those. Another reason was that it's like a very big difference going from being, well, never having gone to school, and then if I went in, it would have been a lot of I don't know, a lot at one go to take in, which would have probably been, distracting from like the work I'd have to do. So that was another reason. I also just didn't like the idea of school. Just generally, it just seemed very. Even though I've only, well, never been. Um, from what I've heard from my friends and stuff, it seems very confining, and they don't get a lot of free time. So overall, it just didn't seem like a better option for me.
And you'd watched your older two brothers, I guess, go through those years, and they each had a very different experience from one another. But I guess you'd kind of observed that. And then I remember you talking to them about what you were going to do and deciding. You were quite adamant that you didn't want to go, I
Yeah,
remember. Yeah. And of course, we didn't know, did we, at that point, that there was going to be a pandemic which would close the schools as much as they have been over the last year or so. So in some ways, it's been good really to just carry on with your own independent study outside of all of that. Um, do you continue to enjoy learning outside of school?
yeah. I think now, in the last year, it hasn't been the work itself that I'm doing hasn't been the best, but uh, I'd say I've never thought to myself I really never even considered going to school, and I've always enjoyed being at home. So yeah, I'd say it was a good decision.
People often talk, or they'll sort of talk about um, the opportunities that you're missing out on because you're not in school. But what opportunities do you feel learning in this way gives you?
Just a lot more ability to follow your passions and do more of your hobbies, which can lead to learning anyway, even if you don't realize it. So I'd say yeah, just that overall, even though it's I've just said it as one thing, kind of leads to so many different things, and I'd say that's the best thing about being homeschooled. I'm probably missing out on certain things that you get if you go to school, but I don't know. I think you get more from being homeschooled than you miss. But that's just my opinion. So.
Interesting. There's a couple of questions that have come in, which will probably frustrate you a little bit because you always get asked them. But like, you can guess what the first one is, can't you?
How do you make friends?
Yeah. How do you socialize? People are asking. I guess as a teenager, this is a concern to people like, well, because I guess a lot of people, school is actually the best thing about school is the social aspect of it and being with their friends and so on. So, how do you have those opportunities as a home educated teenager?
Well, I guess in school you're gonna have. It's just a fact you're probably gonna have more friends because you're in a place where you're just naturally mixing with other people the same age as you. Um, so you're gonna have more friends probably. But I think yeah, people have this misconception that homeschooling is like you're locked in the house and that you can't get out and do and meet people and do things. And obviously that's not true. I've met loads of good friends at my tennis club and various social uh, bubbles of people. Um, and yeah, I've probably met like closer friends than I would if I was in school because I've met people through hobbies and passions that are similar to mine rather than just being in the same place. So yeah, that's how I socialize. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, that's
people
good.
have
So
it. I just think
certainly
homeschooling.
your tennis club is definitely a real hub, isn't it, for you in terms of well, I call it your home from home, but yeah, you're certainly very much part of that community up there. And there are lots of ways in which we mix and socialize with people beyond school. So thank you for answering that one. And the other question I think people are interested in is what about exams? Because I think especially when people are starting out with home education and their kids are a lot younger, um, there is this kind of worry about, well, how will they get any qualifications and what about exams? How are we going to manage that? So perhaps we'll just talk a little bit about that. Gemma's saying, no, it's much better when you're nearer to the mic. So just bear that in mind, okay, when you're talking. So can you talk a little bit about how you've approached exams so far? And this, of course, is just Noah's experience. Every child, home educated child, will have a different story about this part of their education.
Yeah, well, I guess when I started working towards my um first GCSE, I kind of wasn't, you know, well, I was new to it. I didn't really know what I was doing, uh, and it was all a bit. I didn't really take in the concept of what I had to do to get it. Whereas now I think I'm a lot more. I know the coursework I need to learn. I know how much work I need to put in, and yeah, at the beginning it was a bit like difficult because well, it was very boring to be honest, and I was like, this is so boring. How do kids do this? But then I don't know. Once you get past the fact that some of it is going to be boring, and you kind of accept it, and you just do it, then that's the best thing that you can do really. And then as long as you're putting in enough hours each week, then you'll pass them. So yeah. And then obviously the exam itself is nerve wracking, but um, I was all right with it. Some kids might panic and stuff, but I think if you know the material well enough, then it should just come naturally, hopefully. But I don't know.
It was quite a steep learning curve, wasn't it, that first one? And I think because we had the experience with your older two brothers, who again they'd had quite a different experience to each other and responded differently to the challenge of GCSE. Um, when Noah decided he was going to attempt some GCSEs, we decided to do one, didn't we? The year you would have been in year 9, that was when you did the first one. So do you want to tell people what that was and how you prepared for it?
Yeah, so that one was not a well-known one. It's called environmental management, and it's kind of like just learning about how, I guess it's a lot to do with waste and electricity and how everything's made, and like, you'll be learning about nuclear power plants, farms, stuff like that. So yeah, I think I started doing that, uh, learning about it by one of my friends. Their dad knew a lot about it, so he was kind of like the teacher, and yeah, I think at the beginning I was just doing like a couple hours a week, maybe, of just yeah, seeing him, looking through the coursework, um, you know, textbook or whatever, and then yeah, just reading through it literally, and at first I wasn't doing any extra work really on the side, other than those 2 hours a week, which isn't actually that much. And then I think after a while, when it got close to the exam, I realized like what I had to learn, and started kind of panicked myself into action. um, but that wasn't the hardest GCSE to pass. I don't think I did a lot of practice papers, and then yeah, managed to pass it. But it was, yeah, definitely a learning curve because never done an exam before really.
No, in fact, that was your first ever test, I think,
Yeah,
going into the GCSE environmental management, wasn't it? So that
yeah,
was a big thing,
yeah.
but you
But
passed it.
yeah, yeah, it was alright. So
You passed that one. So we did that one in year 9. And I think that was really good because I'd kind of learned from your brother's experience that actually doing one ahead like that and just getting into the swing of that kind of way of studying was beneficial. So I think that was good. And then you've just finished what would have been year 10, and you did another one this year, didn't you?
yeah, so this year I've taken psychology and passed it, and then when is it? When's the exam? Next month?
In the autumn, yeah, October, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm taking art, so yeah, hopefully that'll be three done once I finish that, and then next year I'll be taking three more. So I'll be doing maths, English, and biology, and then that'll be all of the ones that I want to do for now. I guess if I ever need another, I can go. Wait, can you go back with GCSEs? You can, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do GCSE. I could go and do a GCSE if I wanted to. Yeah, so you could pick up some more if you wanted to, but that'll give
Yeah.
you 6, won't it? Which is generally
Well,
considered enough
I think I will.
to get you on to the next stage. Sarah's put a question saying, "Where do you take the exams?"
I take them at the place in the city centre called Tutors and Exams, and yeah, they literally just host exams, I guess. I don't know the exact details of it, but yeah, it's
Yeah, we're very
just
fortunate to
big
have
hall.
an exam centre in our city. Tutors and Exams have a number of centres across the country. So it's worth having a look on their website, and that would be my starting point when, if you're thinking about an exam, really, is to find a centre where you can sit it and then find out which spec um, you want to work towards to sit it there. And home educated children find there are different ways that people find to sit exams. Sometimes you can find a school that's willing to accommodate external candidates, although that's becoming more difficult. And there's a very good Facebook group called Home Education UK Exams and Alternatives, which is just fantastically informative on all things to do with exams and qualifications. So as you get to that stage of your children's education, or you're approaching that stage, it's worth getting into that group, and there are loads of people on there who know a lot, and you can pick their brains about all things exam. And they've got a brilliant wiki as well, which has information about all the different subjects and so on. So yeah, finding a local exam centre is one challenge. And the other one, which is being flagged up in the chat there, is the cost, because we do have to pay as home educators, as independent candidates, for GCSE and exam qualifications, which is probably my main gripe with the government on home education, because to me that is actually an equal opportunities issue. I think that young people ought to have equal access to exams. So yeah, in that sense, it's something else to bear in mind when you're thinking about how many exams you might want to sit, and even what subjects, because the costs do vary. But another thing to bear in mind is to kind of work backwards. So rather than, you might think, well, kids at school do 9 or 10 GCSEs, that's what we need to do. But that's not necessarily true. I think most home educators tend to work backwards. So if you look at perhaps what your child might want to do in the future, if they know that, or maybe a college course that they've got their eye on, or something that they would like to move forward into, and then look at what they need in order to do that, in order to take the next step forward. Sarah's asking a great question there. Can you do A-levels without GCSEs? That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I think it depends where you want to do the A-levels. If you want to go into a college situation to do A-levels, then they probably will want a GCSE with a decent grade. But I think it probably depends on where you're going to do the A-levels. If you're doing them as an independent candidate, then no. And then it would depend on your child's own motivation and desire to do the A-level, and how motivated they are. And then what do they want to do with the A-levels moving forward? So you have to kind of work backwards a little bit. And as I say, that particular Facebook group, Home Education UK Exams and Alternatives, brilliant place to put all your home ed exam queries. And there are people there they've taken so many different routes with their children, and people who've done all different subjects and have a wealth of experience to share. Yeah, somebody's asked before the live, Noah, somebody asked, do you think your route would work for less motivated students?
I think, well, it is very self motivated, as in you don't have, well, I guess I don't have as many teachers who I have to hand work into, so it's like a lot of it has to just come from your own motivation to do it, which can be hard. And I often leave things till the last minute if I have any deadlines or something, which maybe I wouldn't do if I was in school. I don't know, but I'd say you have to have a good, you just have to get on with it, and sometimes that can be hard. I definitely don't have the most amazing motivation in the world. There's times where I want to get something done during the day, and then I just don't end up doing it. But I don't know. I guess you just have to find a way that works for you of doing a certain amount each day. But I think overall you have to be pretty self motivated. Yeah. Oh, Mum, you're on mute.
I am muted there. Thank you. I think you found the way that works best for you, and you found certain ways that you like to study, things that are motivating for you. And I think that's been quite important and quite helpful, especially as we go now into your final year leading up to these other GCSEs. Because, for example, you found out that you quite like to have a small group.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I need to cough. Right. Yeah, I found that groups and when they have like a teacher or something, it just makes it a bit easier to get on with it because you don't want to be like, behind the rest of the group. You don't want to be the weakest in the group, and you also having a teacher or somebody who's overlooking the whole way you're doing it is good because obviously it creates kind of another pressure that can motivate you. So yeah, I'd say having a group or a tutor or someone, that's been helpful.
So you've been part of a few little online study groups, haven't you, over this past year? Small groups, like I think the biggest group you've been in, how many would it have been?
I guess with the psychology, it would have been quite a few people, but that never really affected anything because it was all online. So I never saw anyone who was in the group. I just tuned into the online lessons and heard the teacher. I don't think I even heard any of them, so that was kind of weird to think about. But yeah,
Yeah,
the
you quite
biggest
like that
lesson group
though.
would have been
Yeah,
would be the art, and that's not even that big. It's like 4 or 5 people who
yeah.
I've been working with.
I think you find the accountability aspect though quite helpful, don't you, in that? So we've learnt that with you as we've gone along. And so I guess that's one of the beauties about working independently like this is that you can figure out what works best for you and then put that in place. And that helps with motivation, I think, even if you were somebody who struggled with that. Um, and I guess also, intrinsic motivation in a student is key to any real learning, right? Whether you're in school or out, you've got to kind of muster that
Yeah,
will to do it and to find your kind of why and your purpose in it.
I guess the
Um,
difference though with school is you have like dedicated classes to each subject, whereas at home it's like I don't have any schedule really apart from there's little things in my week that are planned at certain times, but most of it's just each day you can just do it in whatever order and put everything where you want it really. And that can lead to sometimes not doing it, which isn't good. But I think I haven't done too badly with it because I've passed all the ones I've taken. So it's
so
been
far, so good.
yeah.
Jack is asking, what do you hope to do after GCSEs?
Uh,
Do you know?
Probably something in sports. I think because that's what I'm passionate about and I'm good at. So maybe a tennis coach or a personal trainer, something along those lines. I'm not sure yet though. So yeah, still thinking, not sure.
Yeah, we're just about to start looking, aren't we, at different college courses to see if there's anything that you fancy. And I know you've mentioned possible apprenticeships, and we're still kind of looking, aren't we, and thinking about that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And of course, there are alternatives to exams. That's not the route that all home educated young people take. There are different routes to the same end. Building a learning portfolio can be brilliant going forward into an apprenticeship or to take to employers. Um, and I do struggle with standardized testing. It was one of the things I objected to when I took the boys out of school when they were very young, the SATs testing and the pressure on schools and on teachers and on students. So I do feel a bit like when we get to this point where they're doing GCSEs, we're playing the game a bit, and yeah, it feels like not it's not the most joyful part of home ed. Would you agree, Noah?
yes, 100%.
Rachel's asking here about when you were talking about when you were younger. She wants to ask a bit more about the projects you did when you were younger. How did you choose particular projects? And what was the motivation to produce an output? Some writing or drawing. Do you remember? No, it's hard actually asking you to think back. Do you remember?
I do remember in particular the bees project, uh, and that was literally just learning about bees and how they do what they do. So I guess with that, like, there was a lot of drawing, writing, visiting places, and just learning about them. I guess, yeah, researching online, watching videos. And I guess what motivated me was probably that I was just interested and that it was fun as well. So, yeah, writing about them became less work like and more just, oh, I'm just learning about bees. Lights on. So,
It was all very rooted in experience, wasn't it? And I think that brought it all to life. I remember going to visit the beekeepers, and you went to help spin the honey out of um the hives. And do you remember
yeah.
how that project started?
Uh,
Remember what prompted it? You might not
no.
remember. We had a swarm of bees
Oh, yeah.
arrived in our
I,
tree.
I didn't know that was what started it, though.
That was where that project started from. So it even began, it stemmed from something that we saw and were intrigued by in front of us. So it was always rooted, I think, in interest, wasn't it? And in what we were encountering in the real world, which is motivating. Do you remember any other projects that particularly stand out to you? It's interesting what you
Uh,
remember.
well, I remember we did a similar one to the bees. I think we did it with the Olympics, right?
Oh, yes, 2012.
And well, I would have. That's where I probably started idolizing Andy Murray because I think I wrote something about him in that. If you, I don't know where the project is, we've probably still got it somewhere. But and yeah, I remember doing that one. That one was similar to the bees because the Olympics would have been on at the time probably, and we probably just wanted to learn about how it started, some of the athletes that were in it. Um, and yeah, all of it's just because we're interested in it, and that helped.
Yeah, that's good. And yes, and I think because it was things that were happening in the real world around you, it was always rooted in that kind of reality. It was applicable, wasn't it? Because it was just something that was had a real something tangible in the moment that had caught your attention. Um, I'm just looking at the quite a lot of questions came in for me on Instagram today, which is unusual. Somebody asked, would you have imagined yourself where you are now when you were 10?
Uh, Probably not. I mean, I think my 10-year-old self would be pretty happy with how much better I've gone at tennis. I don't know. I don't know what I really thought at 10 if I really thought about now, but I don't know. I don't think so because I probably just wouldn't be able to guess that, but it's not like it's anything special. I'm just doing my GCSEs at home and uh yeah, playing a lot of tennis and running, so
Do you remember when you were younger looking ahead and thinking, oh, how am I going to do those things? Or did you not really think about it?
I do remember when Elias went in school that I was kind of like, oh, I don't really want to get to a point where I have to do that. GCSEs don't sound that fun, and I remember Elias had a lot of arguments about like and conversations about whether he wanted to go in school or not, and I was like, not looking forward to those. And then yeah, when it finally came around, I was like, oh well, maybe I just won't go to school. And then uh, I guess some of not going to school probably stemmed from like a tiny bit of fear because it was like this is so different, and also the fact that yeah, I remember just looking at Lars and Joe and thinking doesn't look that fun. So yeah.
Jack is asking, what advice would you give to your younger brother? And that ties in quite nicely with another question that came in earlier, which was, what advice would you give to 10-year-olds and their parents? That's quite interesting. What advice would you give to your younger brother, who's now
Uh,
9?
I don't know, just like keep learning about your passions, I guess, and following them. And if you're like interested in hobbies and stuff, just do them. What else? I don't know. I don't know what to say to Zappin.
I suppose you never know where those interests and passions might lead you, hey?
Yeah, and
I mean, you four, I mean, you four boys have all got very different passions and interests, haven't you? Really different. It's taken you in different directions. So,
Yeah, hang on, sorry. I nearly closed the page. I was looking at the comments.
we can still see you.
Yeah.
What about their parents? What would you say to home educating parents?
Uh,
Any advice?
I don't know. I'm just trying to put myself in this situation.
It's quite tricky.
I guess just let the children lead it in a way, because then it's going to be a lot easier for them to learn, because if they just want to learn for themselves, it's less forced, and then they can really get involved in projects and learning. So that would be my advice.
That's good. I like that. And I would definitely say to parents not to over worry about this stage of education when you can be enjoying all that lovely project-based learning when you're younger, and just to, enjoy being in that phase, without over worrying about this phase. And I think that as even in the last few years since Joe chose to go into school, which was only a couple of years ahead of you, opportunities have just mushroomed for learning outside of school. And there's much more accessibility for Noah, to tap into little groups and different opportunities through this phase of his education. And I am sure that is only going to continue in the years to come. So I'm sure that by the time children who are 10 now are at your stage of education, there's going to be a lot more opportunities even than you're finding. What's your favourite subject, says Sarah? You're mute.
Sorry, so annoying when that happens. My favorite subject is probably art, and it's purely because art is probably something I would be doing anyway. Like even without the GCSE, I enjoy doing it. So I would say that, and if I had to choose one of the really because I think art's a bit different. It's more, skill based, and you're either good at it or you're not in some cases. But if I had to choose one of the really boring ones, well, no, art can be boring, but I'd probably choose psychology, I guess. I don't know. It's just some of it's interesting.
Some of it was interesting, yeah. And I think that's true with lots of subjects, isn't it? Like some of it will be interesting, some of it not so much. And I think you were very good at just kind of pushing through and accepting that you just had to kind of get on with it at that point. And I do think, Noah, that your amazing determination that you've honed from playing sport and particularly from your tennis helped you with that to push through with the GCSE work last year when it was getting tough. Do you see that? Do you think that?
I think a little bit. Maybe I don't notice it because I'm just used to having that mindset, but I don't know. I just trying to think. I guess the main reason I did it was because I just thought let's just do my best, because if I do it, then I've got that GCSE, and also I won't look back at that time that I wasted, spent, and then think, oh, I wasted that time. So yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
it sounds very different to how I usually do, because I know my voice is usually different.
Yeah, we're a little bit husky, aren't we?
Yeah.
A question for me from Jackie. Having such different experiences with each child, what would you guide Zephan towards? Okay, so Zephan is my youngest son, who's 9 at the moment. I definitely have found that supporting Noah through GCSEs outside of school has been a lot less stressful than the experience with the older two of being in. Particularly, I think, because we've been able to kind of tailor make it to a route that suits him. And I would just be encouraging Zephan to continue to pursue his passions, which at the moment are in digital art. He's quite keen on coding and drawing, but particularly digital creativity, and then seeing where that kind of takes him, and what opportunities present themselves in the years ahead when he hits this point in his education. Art's been an interesting one. This is the first year that I have seen an opportunity to do GCSE art outside of school. I know it has been a difficult one for home educators to do because it involves an extended exam. And so a lot of home educated students in years gone by have relied more upon their portfolio and on doing the arts awards, which you can do more easily as an independent student. But we found a lady this year local to us who's been running GCSE Art for home educated students in affiliation with Tutors and Exams. So it's a little bit of a new one. And so he's working with her, aren't you, Noah, to do your GCSE Art. Yeah, and I don't know. We'll see how the exam itself goes. My son Joe did art in school, and it's similar really, although Noah's in a much smaller group. The biggest obstacle that we found with doing GCSE art this year, being the first cohort to do it, is the cost. It has been really quite expensive, and so that again it puts us in a privileged position, which I find difficult really, because I'd like these things to be open to children everywhere, whether they're in school or out. And I think particularly with the new guidance that's coming out about home education, that was one of the things that came up in it, was about access to exams, and it's something as a community that we need to be really pushing for.
I would just
Equal
say I don't
opportunities.
actually
Yeah, go
recommend
on.
taking art. I don't
Say
actually recommend
again.
taking art. I don't recommend taking art for a
Do you
GCSE as
not?
well.
What, as GCSE? Why not?
Well, because even though I do have a passion for it and it is fun, I think out of all the GCSEs, it does take probably like one of the most amounts of time. So, well, no, I wouldn't say don't do it, but if you're going to do it, just be prepared mentally.
Consider that. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you did an arts award, didn't you, Noah? I think the year you would have been in year 8, you did the Bronze Arts Award. Did you enjoy that? How did that compare as an assessed route?
yeah, that was a lot easier, but that was the bronze award. I think if you go on to do silver and gold, it's equivalent to taking the GCSE. So I don't know if that means it's like the same amount of work or if it's um, easier in a sense. But from what I did from what I remember from the Bronze Arts Award, it wasn't too much. Definitely like
Mm.
nothing compared to the GCSE, which has been a lot of work. So
And the
yeah,
and the arts award's quite nice because it's kind of project based, and you get to lead an arts activity, didn't you? You had to do, and I quite liked the approach of the arts award. So that's another thing to
and
consider
another
if
good
you've
thing
got
about
a young artist.
yeah, there are good things about the GCSE art as well. Like for example, I guess the work that you do for it is not just something you put aside as like, oh, I did my GCSE. It's like something that hopefully you'll be proud of and like, frame, put it on your wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's true.
I
Can
was
keep it.
probably I've done probably some of my best work during my GCSE art, and I have improved a lot. So I guess now that I think about the good things, it's maybe not such a bad option. It just
That's
takes
good.
lots of time. That's the thing.
Yes, it does take lots of time. That's true, but art does. Did you use tutors at all? Sarah's asking. So you have got a tutor with your art, haven't you?
Yeah, and with at the moment I've got an English tutor. Uh, I guess I've technically had tutors for all my subjects apart from environmental management because I wouldn't say that I was really well my
It was more informal, wasn't
yeah
it? An arrangement with a friend,
yeah
really. Yeah. Um, and your biology, you have started as a self-study program,
Yeah,
but you've decided from September, haven't you, to join a little tutorial group online because you think that will help you to be a bit more focused and motivated.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and of course you've got your dad for maths.
Oh yeah.
Does that count? I'm not sure.
Lights on, Krish maths. Man stuff. Yeah, that's good. I think so far, just doing the maths with dad has been good. Yeah, he's a good teacher. So yeah,
Yeah, and there are various options for different little tutorial groups. The English tutor you've worked with for some years, and it's a very small group, and she's very lovely. And the psychology you did with an online provider called Homemade Education, and there are lots of different options of different ways of studying with different um, providers. So you might have a tutor, an in real life tutor, or you might have a tutor group where you're on a call but you don't kind of speak, you don't interact. Or you might have one where it's actually discursive. So there are various options depending on, what motivates your particular student. And of course, lots of home ed students do choose just to self-study it. Our eldest son found YouTube just a really useful resource alongside his textbooks. So it really does depend on what you want and what kind of learner your child is. It's nice to see so many questions tonight. Thank you. It's really helping us, isn't it, Noah? Because it's hard when you're just talking to yourselves. Someone else asked, how do you feel about your parents' decision not to have sent you to school in the first place?
wow. Sorry. Uh, it's not really their decision actually. So if I could have went in school if I wanted to do that, but I've always just yeah enjoyed learning at home. So yeah, I've never really thought about going in school. I guess sometimes I have maybe just thought about the idea, but never like seriously thought about wanting to go into school. And yeah, I've just always enjoyed learning at home. So I guess I've never even really thought about that decision, and it's always been fun. So I guess that's a good thing.
Your eldest brother did try it a few times, didn't he? He was a little bit more curious, I think, a bit more in and out over the years, but you've never really expressed a desire to go to school. You did once try flexi schooling very briefly. Do you remember? I think you were probably in year two, maybe. I think you went a handful of days.
I remember you telling me. I actually remember this really clearly. You were like, if you do 4 more days, then you can make the decision. I was like, right, 4 more days of hell, and then I did it, and then yeah, I never wanted to go back. I just
You
didn't.
didn't.
I just didn't like the fact that I was being told what to do. And maybe that's a bit like spoiled to say, just because I've always been able to kind of direct myself with what I want to do in my day, but it just yeah didn't really work.
I suppose it was really different for you. It
Yeah, it
was a
would have been
completely
really
different
different just
kind of
because
experience, wasn't it?
I think I would have been okay in school, like if I'd went from a young age. It's not. Uh, I don't think I would have been. You know, how do I guess I wouldn't have been homeschooled if it wasn't for your decision. So I guess it was your decision, but I think it was a good one anyway because it just meant that I could, yeah, uh, well, just have a better time learning, I think, and have a lot more free time to do the things I actually want to do.
Jackie says, at the tennis club, are there other home ed children?
There is one of my friends who I know. There's a couple of home ed children who not in my age group, but in my age group, there's my one friend who I knew anyway before the tennis club. He's he's there, and he I think started because of we had a home ed tennis group that we started. I think he started playing because of that, and probably because of me. So I basically own him at tennis.
He loves it now. There are a
But
few of you, aren't there, who are home
yeah,
ed at the
I do.
tennis club?
I am
Yeah.
quite happy because I've managed to get a few of my friends to play, and they've become like as good as me. So that's good.
We even had a mum's tennis club going at one point, didn't we? Mum's tennis group.
Oh God, yeah.
That was fun. What are you most grateful for about learning life rather than school? Someone asked.
Uh,
It's quite hard because
I don't
that's
know.
all
I think
you
it's given
know.
me quite a good positive mindset, and I also know a lot about how believing is achieving. I guess like sometimes I think I have a much better mindset, especially at tennis, than a lot of the other kids there because if I'm down in a match or losing a match, I'm able to kind of just think more positively than them. So I don't know if that's influenced by school, the way that they think, but some of them, I don't know, just it kind of baffles me like how easily they get kind of knocked off course. Whereas, I mean, obviously there's a few kids there who are like me and they're able to just keep going. But yeah, I think that maybe does come from the fact that I've done it all myself instead of with like uh well, with school I guess you're sometimes relying more on teachers and stuff. I don't know. It's an interesting
Interesting.
thing to think about how I would have been if I wasn't homeschooled.
Yeah, we don't know that, do we?
Yeah.
So the last question is someone asked, is there something that you wonder about regarding school? Like if you had gone to school, or is there anything that kind of you wonder about?
Uh, I don't know. I guess if who my friends would be, because like they'd probably be different. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, that's true.
About
Don't know.
that's the only thing though. Uh, yeah, that's it.
That's it. Thank you, Noah. An hour, believe it or not, has slipped by. See how quickly it goes.
Yeah, that was
Has
quick.
anyone got any other questions before we call it a night? Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the live. It's always nice to see people here with their questions. And you're very welcome to put questions in the Facebook group, and we can answer them at any time. Not just on these lives. And this will be here on the page to watch back if anyone's interested or you want to share it with anyone. Is there anything you add to your children's learning that is school-based? That's an interesting question. School-based? Not really. I mean, we occasionally with Zephan, we have some books which are those Let's study books. They're based on a wizard whose name is Wizard Wimstaff. And they're really colourful. They've got like dragons and little wizardy creatures, and which Zephan loves because he just loves mythical worlds and dragons and things like that. And those are kind of according to the key stage that the child's in. So occasionally he has those books in his drawer, like a maths and an English one. And occasionally we'll pull them out and have a look at some maths or English, which I guess is therefore curriculum linked. Although the way it's presented, it doesn't really, it's quite good fun. And he'll have a go at those sometimes. We'll do a bit of that. And then sometimes that'll take him off on a new tangent. We were doing some fractions in there recently, and then he became interested in some concept to do with dividing a number. And so that again then can be a springboard into other conversations. But really, that's the only thing that we have, I think, that looks at all school related. The other thing Zephan likes is we get a magazine called A Killer, which some of you probably know, which is a monthly magazine which Zephan's grandparents ordered for him during lockdown. And they're just on all different things. Like the one for the summer was about London, and that's been great because we visited London a few times, and it's just got really quirky articles and facts and things to make and do. And so that's another thing often we'll dip into, and then that will spark an interest and a conversation, or an inquiry into something. I think the previous edition was on Egyptians, which Stefan's quite interested in. There was an edition on bugs, just really random things. And other than that, we tend to go around what we're interested in or just what's happening around us. And we're very child-led and interest-led. And I guess current affairs-led, like, so for example, with what's happening in Afghanistan at the moment, there's lots of conversations and, lines of inquiry that ripple out from that. So yeah, does that answer the question, Jackie? It was a bit of I hope that was kind of what you were driving at. But yeah, do keep the questions coming, and it's always good to come in and do the live. And I look forward to seeing you all next month, when hopefully we will be feeling better. Thank you, Noah, for giving us your time, even though I know you're not feeling 100%. And thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.